Let me speak to Dr. Johnny Bloomfield. Johnny, we all feel better when we hear your wisdom of a morning. You're putting the spotlight on caffeine and why so many of us are, I suppose, hooked on it.
Good morning, Frank. Thanks for having me on again. So, today's topic is about getting a healthy habit around caffeine. And caffeine's not to be quite confused as coffee. We're going to talk, separate those two a little bit here. So, I want to encourage everyone to enjoy a cup of coffee. There's a lot of evidence-based health benefits from regularly drinking coffee and tea. But I also this morning want to urge a little caution around caffeine in terms of the quantity of it that you take per day and the timing of it.
So far away, where do we get the caffeine from?
Well, of course, most of our caffeine will come from people drinking caffeinated coffee, but tea will also contain smaller amounts of caffeine, and we also can get it through like soft drinks and chocolate, but also those caffeine designed high caffeine energy drinks as well. We have to be very cautious of those. But the caffeine works in us. It's obviously a stimulant that helps us boost our mood and our alertness, and we get a cognitive boost from consuming caffeine, which is generally a good thing if it's timed at the right, if it's delivered at the right time. But each of us have different sensitivities around our consumption of caffeine. So you can have a genetic test which tells you if you're a fast metabolizer or a slow metabolizer of it. But depending on your habit of consumption, then you'll know if you tolerate it well or if it sends you a little bit jittery if you consume too much. People with anxiety should feel those jitters quite enormously. So it's advised that people with anxiety should not take caffeine or very little amounts of it, certainly. So we need to obviously be cautious about how much we take and how that makes us feel. Does it give us a boost or does it send us over the edge? And then how it operates in our body. It works by not necessarily boosting our energy, but actually blocking our tiredness or our sleepiness. So as we get about our day and as we expend energy, we a waste product from that is called adenosine. It's a chemical that lands in the brain, and as adenosine clings to its adenosine receptors, that's what will make our brain and our our head heavy and us feeling tired and sleepy. But what caffeine does is it latches onto those adenosine receptors, and adenosine then has to sort of get in the queue and wait for the caffeine to remove itself from those receptors. Now, caffeine has a particularly long half-life, meaning that half the strength of the caffeine that you consume is still there 5 to 6 hours later. So a quarter of its strength is still there 10 to 12 hours later. So again, depending on your sensitivity towards it, it can act as a blocker for us to get to sleep sometimes. You might see people or talk to people who quite comfortably take an espresso with their dinner or like some coffee in the evening before bedtime, and it not affect them getting over to sleep. There's lots of people that's true for, but there is a huge amount of evidence to suggest that it inhibits the quality of your slow wave sleep by nearly up to 30%. So that slow wave sleep is what helps us to feel restored and refreshed when we wake up. And often if people have a coffee at night but go to bed successfully, don't get deep enough for quality of sleep, will wake up feeling groggy, tired, and fatigued. And what's the first thing that they'll look to do whenever they have that feeling?
Yeah, more caffeine.
More caffeine. So then the other thing is about that timing. So if we start our day at say 8 a.m. with a shot of a caffeinated coffee, 6 hours later it's 2 p.m. We're hitting our midday or our mid-afternoon slump. So we're naturally going to be tired and fatigued at that point. We're also getting the ending effects of the caffeine that we take at 8 o'clock. So we'll feel doubly tired, and what we'll do at 2 o'clock is we'll reach for more caffeine to pull us out of that fatigue slump. So that's going to just cue up, those caffeine, that caffeine's just going to latch onto those adenosine receptors and start the cue of adenosine. All your energy that you expend in the afternoon is just going to wait and build up. And that might mean that your sleep onset could be delayed, or your depth of sleep could be compromised throughout the night. So,
yeah, Johnny, just on the other side of it, just briefly, if you're studying for exams or you have a long journey and you're driving, is it a good idea to take plenty of caffeine?
Okay, so again, just always being safe, safety first, always when it comes to sleep and caffeine. There is I've read about a term called a nappuccino, whereby you, if you are on a long journey and you have got sleepiness feelings and you feel unsafe on the road, it is advised that you should pull over and maybe a service station or where you can get coffee. Take a cup of coffee and then take a 15-minute nap, and then wake up from that nap, and the caffeine will kick in after that, and it should give you a bit more alertness for the rest of the journey ahead. But I would caution anybody who feels sleepy behind the wheel, to be very careful about their journey ahead, making sure that they stay safe on the road.
Of course. And what about the youngsters doing the exams? Is it can you have too much caffeine when you're preparing for exams?
Absolutely. Well, think about the benefits of sleep is all about learning and memorizing and emotional regulation. So not only will it help, so if you're doing late night cramming for exams, not only will it hike up your anxiety and not be able to keep you in good self-control, but it will also hinder your ability to memorize and learn. So it kind of goes completely against the theory of cramming and robbing our sleep, which is where the deep learning actually will occur. And caffeine is a strategy to kind of help you cram and stay up later, is just making it doubly worse. So, yes, not a great strategy.
Okay, Johnny, thank you. So think before you take your caffeine, and take it, if you are taking it, at the right time. Dr. Johnny Bloomfield from johnnybloomfield.com.